Imagine a prison built for 800, stuffed with 4,000 desperate souls. Guards vanish, gangs seize control, and the state retreats. Now strike a match or fire a single bullet, and the prison becomes a living nightmare. Tonight, we enter Latin America's deadliest prison riots, where chaos erupts, survivors speak, and secrets buried behind concrete walls finally emerge. Crack open Latin America's boldest secrets. Fact-checked, footnoted, and irresistible. I'm Arturo, and this is LatinLora, Crónicas y Curiosidades. From Latin America's history, to mysteries and true crime, to local legends, whispering Latin intrigue. Every tale is triple verified in archives before it reaches your headphones. Hit subscribe, fresh revelations drop every week, ready for your next campfire debate. It's easy to ignore what happens behind prison walls until the walls explode. Across Latin America, over 1.5 million prisoners are squeezed into cells meant for half that number. Imagine sleeping shoulder to shoulder with four strangers in a room built for two. Picture guards selling ammunition to inmates, gangs openly running cell blocks, and drugs slipping effortlessly through razor wire fences. For 40 years, reports from Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights have repeated the same chilling warnings. Overcrowding, corruption, and unchecked violence are turning prisons into powder kegs. Tonight, we're peeling back layers of concrete and corruption, descending into the 5 most violent prison riots in Latin American history. We'll witness firsthand the chaos, desperation, and sheer brutality of riots that ended with body counts in the triple digits. Although we'll focus on violent riots, we must also confront the Comayagua Prison fire of 2012, because sometimes negligence is just as deadly as bullets. Brace yourself. This journey won't be easy, but some stories demand to be told. We will present this in a ranked list from 5 to 1, beginning with the least deadly event in terms of fatalities. Number 5 is the Tuluá Inferno in Colombia, June 28, 2022, 2:04 a.m. In Block 8 of Tuluá Medium Security Prison, a routine scuffle spirals out of control. Inmates fight over turf, power, pride, the usual prison currency. But then a desperate inmate ignites his mattress, hoping to create a barrier against rivals and guards alike. The flames leap hungrily upward, fueled by oil-soaked beds, stacked dangerously high. The smoke becomes thick and choking within seconds. Block 8, designed to hold 60 men, was crammed with nearly double that number. Panic rises faster than the smoke itself. With just 6 guards on duty, the commander faces an impossible choice: risk mass escape or lock the inmates inside with the growing blaze. He chooses containment. Steel gates slam shut. 18 agonizing minutes pass before firefighters manage to breach the gates, but it's already too late. They find a nightmare. Bodies piled on top of each other, desperate men suffocated or charred beyond recognition. Final toll, 52 dead. 26 survivors scream their way to Cali's burn unit. Director General Tito Castellanos called it a tragic accident inside a riot. But newly elected President Gustavo Petro wasn't buying it. It's a massacre caused by overcrowding, he said. Colombia's prisons are at 117% capacity. The math is cruel, simple, and deadly. Moving on to number 4, we have the Sabaneta prison massacre in Venezuela. In Maracaibo, Venezuela, Sabaneta prison was a living hell, a place where 4,000 prisoners were shoehorned into space built for only 900. There was roughly 1 guard for every 150 inmates. Drugs flowed freely, homemade shotguns known as chuzos traded for cocaine. The authorities barely bothered to pretend control. Dawn breaks on January 3, 1994. The gang known as Los Guajiros seals the exits of a rival cell block, ironically called the Island. They pour gasoline over mattresses, strike matches, and set the cell block ablaze. Inmates trapped inside have only one desperate escape route, and it's blocked by waiting killers wielding machetes and shotguns. Men flee flames, only to meet a storm of bullets and blades. Witnesses would later recall in horror that National Guardsmen stood by silently, watching the slaughter unfold for nearly 2 hours before intervening. Human Rights Watch counted 108 bodies. Some were shot, others stabbed or decapitated. Venezuela promised reforms, but quickly fell back into old habits. Within months, Sabaneta resumed its cycle of violence, upgraded now with pistols smuggled inside laundry carts. At the heart of Brazil's dark history lies the notorious Carandiru massacre, a chilling event that continues to evoke strong emotions and discussions. Number 3 on our list, this incident stands as a stark reminder of the complexities surrounding justice and humanity. October 2, 1992, São Paulo's notorious Carandiru Penitentiary, Block 9. It starts ridiculously. Just a fight over laundry lines, but within hours it engulfs the entire wing. Authorities panic and summon the feared military police unit, Rota, led by Colonel Uberatan Guimarães. At precisely 2 p.m., hundreds of police officers storm Carandiru. Gunfire echoes through the halls, cell after cell cleared by brute force. Later, autopsy reports tell a darker truth. Many prisoners were executed, shot at point-blank range, their bodies showing evidence of brutal police dogs. When silence returns, 111 prisoners are dead. Not a single officer is wounded. Justice, though promised, never truly comes. Colonel Guimarães is convicted, but his sentence is overturned. Ironically, he himself is murdered years later, under mysterious circumstances. Amnesty International warns the world. Brazil's justice system had normalized impunity. At number 2, we find the explosive Litoral Penitenciary riot in Ecuador, a gripping episode that lays bare the harsh truths of prison life and the monumental challenges faced both inside and outside those walls. This event serves as a stark reminder of the complexities surrounding the justicia system and the urgent need for reform. Between Colombia and Peru, the cocaine heartland, lies Ecuador, a country whose prisons have become battlegrounds for cartels like Mexico's Sinaloa and Jalisco Nueva Generación. In 2021, Guayaquil's Litoral Penitenciary is crammed with twice the inmates it was designed for. On September 28, just after midnight, explosions rock the prison walls. Cell phone videos from terrified inmates show drones dropping grenades through skylights. Gunmen armed with AK-47s storm cell blocks. Chainsaws roar, hacking through metal gates and flesh. When dawn breaks, officials count bodies. At first, they say 116. Then, after a more careful tally, 123. 6 men have been decapitated, their heads displayed as brutal warnings. Families outside cry and plead for news, forced to identify loved ones by scraps of clothing. Ecuador's president calls in the military, but prisoners say gangs still rule. In 2 years, over 500 more inmates die in similar riots, turning Ecuador's prisons into a grim front line of the drug war. The tragic El Frontón massacre in Peru is at the top of the list. June 18, 1986. Peru is at war with itself. Sendero Luminoso, the shining path, has filled prisons with guerrilla fighters. President Alan Garcia hosts the Socialist International Congress in Lima, unaware of what's about to unfold in 3 prisons, El Frontón, Lurigancho, and Santa Barbara. Negotiations fail almost instantly. President Garcia gives the order: retake the prisons by force. Marines assault El Frontón Island prison with machine guns and explosives. Survivors, hands on heads, surrender. Witnesses describe soldiers executing them methodically, shots to the back of the head. When it's over, 224 prisoners are officially declared dead. Human rights groups say it's closer to 300, making it the single deadliest prison massacre in Latin American history. Decades later, the courts still wrestle over accountability. The commanding officer at El Frontón later becomes Peru's vice president, showing just how tangled justice and politics can become. Although this list focuses on riots and violence, I will mention the deadliest event in Latin American prison tragedies: the fire at the special Comayagua Prison in Honduras, February 14, 2012. Comayagua Prison, Honduras. It starts small, a cigarette igniting bedding. But soon, flames rage through cells where over 800 men sleep. Guards search desperately for keys as prisoners claw helplessly at barred windows. By the time rescuers enter, 361 inmates are dead, most awaiting trial, never having seen a courtroom. Though ruled an accident, human rights investigators call it negligence, criminally unsafe conditions making tragedy inevitable. We include Comayagua here because sometimes tragedy wears different masks. Sometimes neglect kills as effectively as bullets. From Tuluá's fiery night to El Frontón's bloody siege, the pattern repeats: overcrowding, corrupción, violence, and neglect. Every massacre is preventable. Every life lost a needless tragedy. International organizations plead for reform, but prisons remain ignored, out of sight, out of mind. Until public outrage outlasts the headlines, the carnage will continue. So tonight, remember the numbers: 52, 108, 111, 123, over 224, and 361. But more importantly, remember that behind each number was a human being, each with a name, a family, and dreams forever extinguished behind prison walls. These are their stories, and they deserve to be heard. Gracias, Curiosos de la Historia. Thanks for trekking the hidden trails of Latin America with me. If you uncovered a new clue today, like, share, and hit subscribe so you never miss the next mystery. Drop your theories below, and until then, keep the legends alive and the facts on fire. Nos vemos en la próxima crónica.